is to cover a few of the things that we did not finish yesterday, and also do the things that we intended to do today. But as you can see in the program, if I draw your attention to the program, we have essentially up to lunch hour. And some of the things we also did yesterday, like the communique we issued yesterday, we will have to agree whether we want to interrogate it or whether we will just take it as is. Those are the things that we have this morning. The one that was supposed to be there yesterday in the afternoon, the panel, the round table, that was supposed to be there yesterday, again with the financial institutions, we want to squeeze it in this morning so that we can proceed with the process. All right. So allow me to I will just read through a recap that we have in terms of what transpired yesterday. I know we had gotten used to a video of the recap. Unfortunately, we do not have that facility this morning, but I will just take us through very quickly. I will not project it. I will just read through what we had, and so that we can proceed. Basically, what we did was to go through the process itself with updating the ministers as they were. And allow me at this point in time to recognize the presence of His Excellency, the Minister for Agriculture, Livestock Development from Nigeria, who has graced us with his presence this morning. So, Your Excellency, you are welcome to be with us, and we recognize, please. It is a real show of magnanimity to be with us in a session like this one, so we really recognize the presence of His Excellency with us this morning. So as we proceed, this is what we did. We essentially first briefed the ministers. We provided the ministerial briefing so that they could understand where we were, and we covered the last 3 days, what we had already done before that. So I will not go into that briefing because you already knew what was in there. I will just go into the quick one here. In terms of the speeches that were given, and essentially what we did is that we got the speeches from each of the ministers and also the Namibian ambassador. And the speeches covered a number of issues. Some of them we had already discussed in the meeting. I think notable among them was the whole issue about the African Continental Free Trade Area and how we can take advantage of that and how prepared we are for that purpose. The other one, the whole issue about intra-Africa trade, which is also covered under the AFCTA, harmonization of SPS certification and so on. Those were issues that were covered by His Excellencies quite significantly. We also did look at specific perspectives from the different countries in terms of what they have done. I think the things that were sticking out, especially in terms of the trade between countries, Uganda exporting to Ethiopia and so on, Kenya making progress with ANITRAC and that kind of situation. We also had the whole idea about embracing large-scale commercial feed and fodder. The other observations were also in terms of the achievements that have been made, and I think Nigeria shared with us this one, establishment of health control posts and quarantine centers, and a number of establishments. Namibia also shared with us their traceability systems again in terms of what they have done. I'm just trying to look at what was the key one that we need to focus on here. I think after all that, the whole issue about Okay. I think the emphasis finally was in terms of the need for strategic investment for continental integration. This is what we had coming out of the speeches. We also had the panel session where a number of issues were discussed. I do not want to go to each one of them. I think we were all here listening to what transpired. But I think some of the issues that came out of the panel discussions, I may want just to look at one or two. Let's see this one. Okay, out of the panel discussions, a number of issues were given attention, especially the elimination of non-tariff barriers, harmonization of regulations and compliance, digital sanitary measures, and the need to comply or to abide by African Continental Free Trade Area frameworks. There were a number of other issues that were discussed during the panel discussions. I think the key one again here, which we settled to again, the challenge of budget allocation to the livestock sector. I think that came up very, very significantly in terms of the attention that is needed there. In terms of specific issues from different countries, Nigeria again shared with us the ambitious plans that they have to unlock and modernize the livestock sector, and shared with us the different programs that they are having, starting very soon, and others that are ongoing. Ethiopia also shared with us the feed processing plants that they are engaged in. Just trying to look at if the other countries did that. I think for Kenya, it was all issue about the traceability, the ANITRAC system. That's what we have here. So basically, this is what I picked in terms of the panel discussion, the ministerial panel discussion. And after that, of course, we went for lunch, and then we came back in the afternoon. For those who are here, we looked at the policy, I prefer to call it policy to action matrix, because we were reviewing the various policy areas that we were looking at. We went through it over here, starting with feed and fodder, and we made adjustments in terms of the way we were expressing them and how it should really come out in terms of the attention that is required for policy purposes. So we covered a number of issues. We rephrased them in a way that was now more acceptable. And because that is where we stopped, I just want to look at critically the feed and fodder element. We looked at that, investment on livestock corridors and infrastructure. We rephrased that, so we'll be rephrasing it and putting it the way we discussed yesterday. We also looked at establishment of financial risk sharing facility for pastoral livestock development. We looked at the disease surveillance, control, and traceability. We looked at capacity development, the entire chain, looking at extension, business skills, and technology. And lastly, we looked at data and information ecosystem integration, where we discussed the whole system, such that you're looking right from the producer up to the financier, and also between countries and within the country. I think that's where we stopped yesterday in terms of the issues that we discussed. If I've not emphasized something that is critical, I would want to open a little window now, so that if you have anything that you want to explain or just to add up in terms of the emphasis, because we may need to emphasize specific areas. If there's anything that you need us to emphasize that we have not captured in the right way, I would give you an opportunity right now. Okay, because that's basically what we did yesterday. Oh, one more thing. The deal room continued on the other side. You see, this is why we needed you to, okay. The deal room continued on the other side in terms of the pitching and so on. So that continued on the other side. But in the room here, this is what we had. Okay. Okay. If that is the case, then if this is agreeable, we will refine especially the policy issues to reflect what we discussed here yesterday, so that when it is presented for action, then it will reflect the sentiments that were in the room. Okay. Now, what I would want us to do, if there are no more comments on that particular aspect, I would want us to indulge one group, that one roundtable, like I said, that was not done yesterday because of the congestion in terms of time, and also because of the conflict between the deal room and the work that we are doing on policy here. So for this particular purpose, let me request you to help me welcome Dr. Kelvin Shikuku to come and moderate this panel on financial structuring, co-investment, blended finance syndication, and credit enhancement. Please, let's put our hands together for Kelvin. I will leave it to him now to call upon his panelists to come up front so that we can proceed with this session. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see all of you and to see the energies even on the last day. My name is Kelvin Shikuku. I'm Senior Scientist and Development Economist with the International Livestock Research Institute. I'll be moderating this session. Thank you very much. So just to give you a bit of structure, is that I'll give a very quick kind of context setting here, and then I'll invite my panelists, for a discussion that builds on what I'll talk about. So as you can see here, the focus is going to be on financing pathways and for increased investment, and we'll try to build on the session that happened on day 3, where we already started talking about financing models. But I just wanted to come back to, again, some of the things that have already been highlighted and that we should really not lose sight of. We all appreciate that rangelands are really mainstream and not marginal. And you can see here the immense contribution. First of all, they are the largest terrestrial ecosystem, on the continent. But you can also see really that they support millions of pastoralists who actually depend directly on these systems. But what is even more important is that it's really an economic engine, right? Contributing significantly to agricultural GDP. In some countries, actually, it's the main economic driver. And we also know that about 75% or just above that, of the value comes from what we call here invisible services. I think on the first day we heard from the World Bank, for example, specifically emphasizing that when we value rangelands, we should really think about, more broadly the services that come from there. These are complex systems, we know. They are not just grazing lands, but they also offer huge opportunities in terms of diversified goods, ranging from meats, but also really providing even climate regulation, so environmental benefits as well. Now, why is it important to unlock capital in the livestock value chains in pastoral areas? I see it from kind of 4 areas that I've highlighted here. You probably can identify more than this. But one is really to stabilize supply relationships, right? And we've heard about that in the conversations that have been happening since the first day. Second one is to protect investments. Thirdly, to expand access to finance. And the fourth one is to really kind of improve the sustainability of livestock enterprises in pastoral areas. Now, we do recognize this potential, but again, there's a huge gap, as we've seen, in the sense that capital is not flowing, right? It still remains limited. Pastoralists are still facing serious financing costs, and they have limited access to risk management solutions. Now, of course, we have to look at the entire value chain, but even when we broaden this to other value chain actors, we see that they continue to struggle to absorb significant risks. Now, so what have we had? We've had one that everything downstream starts in the rangelands. We have to think about the productivity of the rangelands, of course. But we've also had that the principal constraint is really not the availability of livestock. It's just that there's limited development of trusted market and competitive, competitive livestock market systems that are kind of making us not to fully realize the potential in these areas. We've also had and seen evidence that demand is growing. Demand for meat, for example, projected to triple. Demand for milk projected to double by 2050. So that's clear. But what is also really emerging is the need for building of inclusive, integrated, and resilient livestock markets. Now, the problem, and this kind of starts to come closer to why we need to speak with the investors, is that it doesn't seem to be a problem of lack of money. It is rather that money is just not flowing to ensure that investments are happening. Yeah. So there's need for catalytic pathways, that can then kind of crowd in investments. And so how exactly that happens, hopefully the panel will help us understand that. And then we kind of need to move away from fragmented implementation to kind of a system coordinated investment. And just lastly here, making the need for making market enterprises or making enterprises competitive through market-driven solutions. I think that also came out very clearly, and strategic investments in corridors. Now, the way I look at this is that we can summarize all that in a few kind of pathways here. One is that it's difficult to imagine how we are going to unlock potential in pastoral areas if we cannot protect pastoralists and agro-pastoralists, and more importantly, the assets that they have. And so we have again to think about that both from climatic but also non-climatic risks, and recognizing the complexity that comes with the interaction of those risks. But that's one topic that has been highlighted clearly. The second pathway is that, okay, you protect the asset, but then we need to make sure that we can improve the productivity. So a lot of the discussions that we've had around improving rangeland productivity, so investing in rangeland restoration or improved rangeland management, comes in here. Crowding in investment in productivity enhancing inputs, all that comes here. And thirdly, if we protect the assets against shocks, we improve productivity, we have to find ways, of course, to link those assets to economic opportunity. And again, we can think about that from conversation around how do we really invest along the corridors, how do we make sure aggregators are sufficiently financed, how do we facilitate even agro-processing for value addition, etc. But we cannot ignore the important role of linking assets to economic opportunity. Then we've discussed about collaborative planning for rangeland management, the need for data to help us monitor certain indicators, perhaps real time, but we cannot discount the role of that information the role that information plays in kind of unlocking financing. Finally, we have heard a lot about the impact that conflict can have on market systems, on value chain, on pastoral value chains more broadly. Again, we cannot discount or think about investment without really focusing on peace and inclusion. So those kind of just give you an idea of kind of the pathways that the potential pathways for kind of investment, or where we can start thinking. But now I want to invite the panelists to kind of start helping us understand the how. How do we exactly do this? So help me to then invite Dr. Joshua Zira is here from Sterling Bank. Please, if you may have your way to the podium. George Kaburu from Equity Bank, please make your way. Julius Rono from SNV. Who else? Julius Sopio from the International Chambers of Commerce. Yeah. We were supposed to have Evans come out, but then because of this changes in the program, he's not able to join, so he sends his apologies, as well as Traore. Okay, we are now activated. All right, so I want to start by, first of all, giving opportunity for each one of you to introduce yourselves and tell us what your respective organizations are doing. But in doing that, also highlight what you see as the potential of financing in pastoral areas. Let me start with you, Joshua.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I still remain Joshua Zira from Sterling Bank, Nigeria. I work on the agri and solid mineral finance desks, and we've been funding the sector for close to 2 decades now. And Sterling Bank in Nigeria has been doing a lot when it comes to funding agriculture and livestock. And what we see as a potential in funding the pastoral areas, there are a lot of potential in that, in the sense that you have a lot of places like in Nigeria. First of all, we are looking at how can we actually have people that can go into commercial further production. And it's an area that we think we can work in and develop that area. And at the same time, we need to look at how we can have food, feed, further available for the pastoralists, even in dry season. And one other potential is to look at cold chain logistics. That's another very beautiful area that I think we need an investment in there, and finance can go in there. Because I know of a dairy plant that, because the other end of the value chain was not developed for that dairy factory, the owner has to shut it down. Why? Because the products from that farm, from the factory, are required in almost 1,000 kilometers away, and she cannot sustain that. So she has to suspend the operation for now. So in that space, we need to look at cold chain logistics and storage facilities as well. And another thing we can look at also in terms of financing, you have a lot of producers from, or rather, domiciled in the rural areas. And now, another thing we can do is to identify those abattoirs that need feedstock for their abattoirs. And then how can we link them to those places? And in the rural areas, can we come up with a kind of feedlotting? Can we come up with ranches? These are areas that we can finance. And then, of course, you know that in those locations, you as an abattoir, you have assurance that at any time you have that supply ready coming to your abattoir to slaughter and serve your market. Let me stop here for now. Thank you.
Thanks, and a very good morning. My name is George Kaburu. I come from Equity Bank. I'm the livestock specialist at Equity Bank Kenya. So the bank looks at transitioning this traditional wealth into a very well coordinated commercial and resilient economy. We look at it in the lenses of ecosystems approach, looking at all the players in the industry, working in a coordinated manner, so that we can think within our three tri-engine model. Equity Bank flies on the commercial, the non-commercial, and the sustainability engine. So our activities within the livestock systems must be in sync with the work of these engines, and also they have guided us into our Marshall Plan for 2030. 30% of Equity Bank's portfolio should actually come from livestock, or rather from agriculture. Livestock is a key pillar within agriculture, so it is deliberate, and we're working towards ensuring that we bring the much needed financial inclusion, digitizing the pastoralists, creating capacity building initiatives across youth and women, ensuring that we benefit from livestock insurance, from asset insurance, but most importantly, to develop the value chain financing into fully ecosystems banking approach. So we have many initiatives in the livestock industry, from fodder to pastoralists, the bank sitting in the Kenya Livestock Transformation Steerco, working with partners to de-risk the industry, ensuring that we are supporting the different initiatives, right from production to value addition to export of value added products. And all this has crystallized in the bank having a 4.6 billion Kenya shillings fund for livestock and leather. So all these efforts are crystallizing and moving towards enabling us to curate the right solutions, to curate solutions that speak to the industry. And I'm hoping that out of this conversation, then we can authoritatively give out numbers that speak that the efforts being put down on our fora is crystallizing at the bottom of the pyramid. This is where the pastoralists are. Thank you.
Please, yeah, Julius.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Yes, my name is Julius Opio. I chair the International Chamber of Commerce, the National Committee in Kenya. And we in the International Chamber of Commerce, we're an international business membership organization headquartered in Paris. So as the world largest business membership organization, we have over 45 million companies, and we operate in 170 countries. And we are the only global business membership organization with a UN observer status. So we represent private sector when it comes to global policy, regional policy, and even national on behalf of private sector. So we have a global network, and we work very closely with the various institutions. So we work through a unique mix of advocacy, solutions, and standard setting based on global policies that we are pursuing, and the international international policies, like when it comes to agriculture, environment, tariffs with the WTO organizations, and similar policies. So we we want to focus on using private sector to leverage and come up with solutions that address challenges that we encounter, and Through these challenges, businesses are able to thrive, make profit, but also impact the communities that they serve. So we do this through a mix of various initiatives, which include partnerships. We have business summits, workshops, and capacity building activities, and many other programs. So the key priority currently for ICC, ICC now stands for the International Chamber of Commerce, and not the other one that sometimes we think of, is involvement and collaboration with governments, intergovernment organizations, like now, for example, AU IBAR, when it comes to livestock. We engage also FAO when it comes to food systems from a global perspective and regional. WTO when it comes to tariff setting with the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. And with humanitarian organizations, we also engage UNHCR when it comes to displaced people and refugees. And then also multilateral development and finance institutions when it comes to investments in infrastructure, and also engaging private sector using PPP investment models. So in a nutshell, that's what we're capturing. We operate through commissions, but due to lack of time, I'll not go into the details, and I'll hand over to my colleague to introduce himself. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Julius Rono, and I work for the SNV, which is a Netherlands Development Organization. This is an NGO, a global NGO, and we work mostly in Asia and Africa, covering around 22 countries. Our main focus for the last many years, I think about 60 years now in operation, our main focus is 3 sectors. We work in the agri-food sector, the water sector, and also the energy sector. So our work is actually more of development focused, and we work through what we call the systems transformation. We promote what we are calling systems transformation. And our key focus actually is, one, capacity development, working with small-scale farmers, but also institutional development capacity, where we work closely with government and other local institutions just to ensure that their capacity is improved. And why do we work on improving capacity? I think for the past few days, we've heard that there is something missing in the middle. We have seen the livestock sector, for example, that the production is there, the assets are there, the livestock are there, the market is there, but there is something we call the missing middle. So SNV actually tries to fix the missing middle by promoting investable propositions, developing a pipeline of private sector actors, SMEs, and also, more importantly, for the purposes of this panel, we also we look for resources to be able to build these bankable propositions and work closely with development partners, banks and governments to ensure that we are able to unlock the flow of financing. What we have heard from the last 4 days is that capital is there, the finance is there, the problem is the flow. So the work of SNV actually is to try and unlock this flow by working with private sector, by working with development partners, being a worthy convener so that we are able to unlock this. One last thing that I wanted to mention, just because of this panel, is that we also develop innovative financing models where we develop what sometimes we call innovation funds, de-risking funds, and we use these funds to actually catalyze and prepare the private sector and more likely the SMEs to be ready to invest in the agri-food sector and the other sectors that I have mentioned. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Traore. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So regarding the African Development Bank, so the bank is like committed to building like the financial ecosystem. So mainly by focusing on risk sharing, so de-risking the environment to allow it like the financial service provider to be effective, but also through the development of the value chain himself. So the bank has different type of financial instrument. So in the group where I am, we work mainly through sovereign finance, so providing lending to regional member country at a concessional rate. There is different condition based on the category of the country, but we also try often to use a kind of blended approach. So mixing the sovereign financing with commercial bank funds, mainly in the way we design project. But also the bank is accredited like to by certain climate fund like GCF and GEF. Then one of our main instrument is through the provision of warranty to financial institutions. The bank has also a whole instrument mainly for the private sector. So depending on the context, you're providing mainly grant also as a commercial rate. Yeah, I think this is, yeah, to summarize it.
Great, and I'll come back to you, Traore, later. But for now, let me move to Joshua, and I have one specific question for you, Joshua. There seems to be demand for for financial services to an extent, but we see that those are not yet reaching value chain actors, at least not the way that we would have hoped. And so from your own perspective as a commercial bank, why do you think this is the case, that the financing is not flowing? And what could be done? Are there, for example, practical solutions, pathways that you are exploring as a commercial bank to unlock that financial flow?
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, a lot of requests are coming. People want to access facility in the bank. And again, some of them, of course, if you look at the activities in the rural areas, especially the pastoralists and smallholder businesses, you know that some of them are not structured. Some of them may not have good business cases to present. And these are issues. And the bank, of course, have laid down, terms and conditions when you want to borrow from the bank. So the bank will look at a lot of, things before they will actually advance you a facility when you are looking for credit facility. And again, some people will have a very brilliant, very beautiful, business proposals. But again, commercial banks are, risk averse, and they will look at this business proposal is good, but at all is just on the paper. It's just some are at the ideation stage, and some lack track record, a lot of things. And so the fund will not flow. Now, for the past 2 days, we've been in the deal room, and we've had a lot of brilliant, viable, and very feasible presentations. And most of them, what kind of funding are they looking for? Not equity, perhaps 1 or 2 equity, and some are looking for grants. Now, another challenge that the fund will not flow to those people is the interest rate. I was discussing with somebody just yesterday, and the person said in Kenya, the commercial bank, I think they are receiving facilities at double digit, 14% or thereabout. And he said they were complaining. And I said, if you come to Nigeria, we'll double that interest rate. Because that's what we give on our balance sheet. So that's another thing that the borrower, the obligors, are, so scared of getting into commercial loans. And even we, as commercial banks, we feel there are better ways and better financing that can actually go to the farmers. At least the funding shouldn't be that kind of costly, but something they can access. One of us here has even told me that he's not coming to Sterling to borrow because the rate is high. So it's not only Sterling, but the commercial banks. And by what CBN is saying in our nation, of course, and in every nation, there is a benchmark for every commercial bank. You can't lend below that on your balance sheet. And today, our MPR in Nigeria is 26.25%. And no bank will want to lend at that. So I think what we do is to work with development partners, like I said, to have a blended kind of financing that can actually have those loans below the MPR. And what I want to suggest, even as we are here, what I've been thinking, for us to actually accelerate, grow this sector, advance it very well, is to form a common front. From what I heard yesterday when we were presenting the review of what we've done so far, I think Eric mentioned we are from 15 different countries that are seated here yesterday. And also we had our excellencies, the ministers came, we had the forum. Now can we, from this point, people are looking for grant. We shouldn't be talking about grant, but is there a way we can actually have the banks? The African Development Bank is here, IFC was here, and of course, we can look at the banks like Afrexim, ECOWAS Investment Bank, and other banks, put our heads together, and then now look at something perhaps has never been done before, to say, can we come up with a financing product specifically for livestock in Africa? Now, how do we do that? Gates Foundation is there, and AUI can champion this to say, okay, let's talk to these people. This sector needs emergency, intervention. How can we get these people to put funds together and say, okay, let's have a fund that we can lend at single digit in the entire African region to the livestock sector. Whether you are in Kenya, you are in Ethiopia, you are in Zambia, Gambia, you are in everywhere in Nigeria, the interest rate all in should be 9%. We can come up with that term sheet and make a case to these giant fund providers and say, okay, in your impact funding, catalytic funding, you have a lot of funding that you do, advance to individual countries and maybe some specific businesses. Can we develop this and let it be that this fund go specifically for livestock, the entire value chain, and it should be at minimum of 5% to the last mile, 5% and maximum of 9%. We can come up with this, and finances can actually go to everyone looking to access funding. But as it is today, the commercial banks, of course, will be cherry picking our customers. We'll look at which one are we comfortable with that we can lend to. But if we have that kind of concessionary funding, let it be that with a minimal kind of, should I say, terms and condition, with it that can serve as a barrier. So to eliminate those barriers, we can walk through this to say, okay, these are the minimum requirements. And once you meet this checklist, you can access these funds. And this can be presented to the Afrexim, of course, African Development Bank, World Bank, IFC, Gates Foundation, and different people that are fund providers, donor agencies, and those funds can actually be in a bucket in any location. And then every country can access this. And I believe that can actually help in terms of getting this thing to push funding into the sector. But if we still continue to talk about commercial banks are here. I'm telling you, no commercial bank will want to reach their commercial, kind of funding to say, I want to lend it at this subsidized rate. But we can have concessionary funding if we actually put a very big task force together, championed by AU IBA. We can move together in this. The banks can come together, make presentation of your products that you actually advance to livestock, maybe sector in your location. Then let's look at what are your risk acceptance criteria. What are the things that you are comfortable with it being presented? And then how can we harmonize it so that we can actually have one product that can serve the African livestock space? Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Joshua. So it's not a one-man show. Commercial banks, yes, but we also need other players, right? And I really like your point around let's think Africa, let's think about a product for Africa, and how can we bring down the interest rates, yeah, to 9%, yeah? So, George, you are also a commercial bank, and I would like to ask the same question again, capital is there. We've said money is not the problem. There seems to be some reasonable demand. Why is it not happening? What's hindering this? And from Equity Bank's side, do you have some pathways that you can share with us that are already aimed at unlocking financing in the pastoral areas?
So thank you very much for that question. Allow me to start by urging the banks to understand the livestock sector. I think before we see the speck in somebody else's, let us look at ourselves. So in terms of the granular understanding of the sector, I think for me, the banks have a role to play there. We may have left a bit of it to the off-takers. When you look at the currency that is in trust by the pastoralists, for now, I don't think it is with the banks, but it could be with other partners. So that could be our entry point in firstly working to understand at a granular level how the cash flows are moving. And we know as banks, we want to make decisions based on data, based on verifiable information, looking at the past financial history. So once we've understood, then from that point, then we can surmount the other challenges. When we look at bankability of our pastoralists, they are not banking. Not because they are not selling, not because they are not marketing their products, but when you look at the pathways of how the cash is moving, then it's not coming to the banks. So there's a role that there's a multi-stakeholder kind of an approach needed there so that we can ensure that we have a level playing field when it comes to access of these data and cash flows, so that even as we curate the solutions, they are solutions that actually speak to the sector. When we look at low bankability, some of the destinations where we have production, for example, could not have electricity. They may not have phone networks. They may not have power. Infrastructure could be a bit poor. And with that, brings a lot of, low bankability. Others are not banking. But at the end, we look forward to, supporting the business. So we can have bridges, and I want to leverage on our off-takers that I know you bear the brunt of, doing quite a lot in terms of supporting the communities, to want that trust. There's something that you can do with that, within that framework. Value chain coordination, when you look at the nodes of these value chains. They are not as coordinated as we would expect as banks. So again, as the sector is realigning and everybody playing their role, then we look forward to maximizing on optimizing on these value chains. Other factors could include, say, securities on securitization, collateral. Pastoralists may not have formal collateral. They are on communal lands. They have leased land. Okay, so for the banks, and that draws me to my opening remarks, things may not change so quickly. So communal lands may remain communal lands for a bit of time. So what do we need to do within that framework of understanding that we may not have title deeds for the producers, for example. So again, on the rates and fees, they are, a bit prohibitive in terms of what are the margins, what is the cost of fund, and as my colleague has highlighted here, I believe more needs to be done working with the partners to bring funds that resonate with the sector, to support us with the guarantees in livestock, specific to livestock, not just agriculture, so that we can look at the dynamism of the industry. So back to the banks, what we have done as Equity Bank, we to understand the sector at a granular level, we have come up with a livestock framework. This is a document that guides, the credit risk and other departments that we work with, and it gives confines of what is livestock first, and who are the players of livestock. Okay, what do we need to do to optimize on this sector? What are the tenures, for example? What kind of securities do we expect? We have mixed securities, for example. We would take household goods of the customer. We would take the biological assets from the customer. If you look at asset acquisition, some of the assets could be self-securing, so we may not need additional securities. Going down to the footprint of the branches that are the touch points within where the pastoral communities could be, then we need a specific product for livestock, not just an agri product, but a specific product. It could have a concessional rating so that we can also leverage on the partnerships that we are talking about. And when I look at the numbers, when I listen to the off-takers and the numbers that they have, the numbers that they are commanding, that could be our gateway towards offering a sustainable support towards our pastoral communities. So our partners looking at climate funding, adaptation funding, I think with the banks there's a way that we can look at a solution that speaks to the sector. Yesterday we were told that we are expecting El Nino, for example. So it is preemptive. We knew it will come. So how prepared is the sector? How prepared are the banks, assuming that we have a portfolio that is already disbursed out there? How do we cushion them? How do we support the sector? So for us, we have the different pathways of looking at different classes of livestock, whether it's camel, whether it's cattle, shorts, the sheep and goats, apiculture, and they are unique in their own ways. Different ecosystems have different production cycles, different cash cycles. So we want to understand further so that we can scale up, our value proposition for the value chain and include other players who are still supportive pillars within the industry, so that we can come up with a 360 degree kind of a solution. Thank you.
Great, thanks, George. And you started by kind of thinking about the problem, collateral, whether do we have an historical, transaction records, etc. But you then also end with, some tangible ideas of how this could be unlocked. I wanted then to move now to ICC. And so there are certain groups in pastoral areas, these are important, for example, the internally displaced populations, the refugees. They're involved in significant ways in the pastoral economy, but sometimes they tend to be forgotten. How can financing be unlocked for these populations as well? What do you see as some of, pathways to make sure that these populations are not forgotten?
Okay, thank you for your question. ICC is actually working with a number of humanitarian organizations whereby we are bringing in private sector investments into the communities. So some organizations will work with the WFP and also with the UNHCR. And I'll give an example in this case, focusing mainly on UNHCR. I don't know whether we have any representative here in attendance from UNHCR, Ethiopia. Okay, so we have a program we are running with for Africa and also in Kenya. So if you look at the Kenya scenario, we have about a population of refugees and asylum seekers of about 850,000 people. And in Kenya, we have, I'm saying we because I'm Kenyan, I'm saying we because of Kenya. But in Kenya, there are two camps. So we have a camp called Dadaab with about 400 people, and Kakuma with about 300,000 people. So these camps, if you look at the dynamics, most of them are from the pastoral communities from our neighboring countries. But they also engage in a lot of economic activity, and we're seeing how do we bring in investments to include them into the economic activities in our countries. If you look at the Africa situation, we have about 45 million displaced people, IDPs and refugees, and a substantial number again of them comes from the pastoral communities. And the main economic agenda and activity is livestock. So what we've done in private sector is to bring out the investment opportunities to show them if we invest, these are the opportunities we can actually get out and work together with the communities and impact them positively. So we collaborate with humanitarian organizations and other like-minded partners in the effective implementation of anticipatory action elements, which my colleague here has just mentioned from Equity Bank. So we're looking at pre-agreed triggers, it could be climate triggers, and then we come up with pre-agreed activities with pre-arranged financing and investments. Now, private sector is willing and ready. We have a number of companies, multinationals, and even local or regional, interested to invest in these initiatives so long as it is structured in a way that there's a positive outcome and there's a way we are monitoring our investments. So that is what we're looking at. And that is the awareness we're creating with these humanitarian organizations. So I'll give a few examples. So for example, like now, agribusiness and food security, which is an area of interest for us. In ICC, we have two main global initiatives we're running with. One is the ICC Agri-Food Initiative, looking at how do we build value chains, how do we build food securities, especially in Africa and other parts of the world. And then we also have the ICC Digital Standards Initiative, focusing on trade, digital trade, and digital trade and digital finance initiatives. So, under the agribusiness and food security, in terms of the investment opportunities, we're looking at food processing to improve food security in these areas, and also creating jobs within the area environments that we are working with to stimulate economic growth. So opportunities that we see and we're ready to invest, and when I say we, I'm talking about our members, is in feedlots, meat processing plants, solar-powered boreholes, and irrigation systems. But we need to have and generate what we call a business case investment proposal for them to come in and make these investments. So there's a significant shift in the private sector from CSR, which has been mainly been driven by aid, to investments. So we're moving now to social investments that have a return for all the stakeholders. So I talked about food processing plants. So in the livestock sector, we're working with, we're looking at how do we enhance the infrastructure with the pastoral communities targeting the drought season. So during the drought season, what can we invest to ensure that the pastoralists are not taken advantage of or are not hit by climate shocks during these seasons? In some other regions, they've mapped out flooding as a challenge, depending on whether it is El Nino or El Nino, and the other one is called La Nina. Yeah, La Nina's. Yeah, thank you. Then another aspect we're looking at is digital transformation and connectivity. So under digital transformation, digital infrastructure now becomes critical to connect as a connectivity gap. And this promotes economic and financial inclusion. An example in Kenya, with the support of various stakeholders, including the government, which has been very supportive, we have one of our telco partners that have gone ahead and set up digital hubs. There's a program we're running with to set up digital hubs in rural towns and remote communities. And a number of these remote communities are in the pastoral areas. And this is creating new economic growth, development, and financial inclusion. So these investments with collaboration with organizations like UNHCR is now being extended now to the refugee camps. So in Kenya, we have a structured format way on how we handle displaced people, especially foreign when they come in. But in other countries, it's a different system. They're able to move around. So now in the camps in Kenya, we are actually setting up digital infrastructure. Okay. Now that means now they'll be able to use telecommunication to access financing, digital credit or digital lending, and as a result of that, that money is able to go into investments within where they're operating in. And this is impacting about 700,000 people in Kenya, and it's going to be expanded across the continent. Lastly is sustainable infrastructure development. When it comes to infrastructure, where we are focusing on energy transition, okay, and regional connectivity systems, which I've just mentioned. But solar mini grids is also an area we're looking at. How do we bring in solar mini grids into these communities such that they have access to electricity? And when they have access to electricity, now they're able to get a financial, they're able to be brought into the financial system, and they're able to access digital lending. So I know there's a lot we can talk about, but I would just like to wind up and just say one thing. Financing pastoral areas isn't charity. That's one thing we need to change. It's not charity. It's an emerging asset class. And I would like to appeal to the financial institutions that we're working with to look at it very differently. We come up with a financing model that addresses this sector because it's unique when you look at it across the globe. And for us, we look at it as an opportunity for investments. So the winners, when you look at the institutions that will be the winners, are those that can de-risk using insurance, data, and off-taker opportunities. Another one which I've talked about is go digital. We have to go digital. We believe Africa can do it, and it has to come from within us. And by going digital, we can use radio frequency identification, satellite tracking for the animals, and when we put all that into a data format, then we can actually now ensure this kind of assets when it comes to insurance. And then the last point I'd like to talk about is collaboration with institutions. We have, in Kenya, there's a strong cooperative movements, which have worked very well for the farmers, especially in the crop sector. If there's a way through our stakeholders here, we can create cooperative organizations for livestock and for the pastoral communities. So as groups, we're able to offer financing, then this will be impactful. So we can use cooperative organizations. In some countries, we have conservancies, so they're willing to invest and support. And then, of course, generally everywhere we have aggregators who are able now to access these finances and investments. I know I've talked too long, but there's a lot that is happening that I think we need to share with all stakeholders here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Julius. Interesting how you help us understand what ICC is already doing to empower IDPs, refugee communities, but even more broadly, strengthening financial infrastructure in pastoral areas. And I really like your point around, okay, well, we can discuss challenges until forever, but maybe we should be looking at it differently. That there's a real opportunity here that pastoral economies offer when it comes to financing. I want to move to you, Rono, and discuss a bit what SNV is doing. I know you are doing a lot of work, for example, with youths and trying to unlock financing for youths. From your own experience at SNV, how can this be done better? How can we ensure that financing is flowing to youths in the pastoral economy?
Thank you, Dr. Shikuku. I want to begin by saying that we have all agreed that the livestock sector has some value. So this value, number one, needs to be enhanced because the production system of most pastoral communities is still quite traditional. So that is one way that it needs to be improved. And the next frontier of people to do this kind of improvement are the youth and women. We've had, even in the Lion's Den, the positioning yesterday and the other day about women-led enterprises, youth-led enterprises. So this is the next frontier to grow the sector and make it more valuable. But most importantly is how do we build capacity? Because looking at the sector, it is quite situated in very marginal areas, far to reach areas. So how do we enhance that capacity? I think that is one thing that is lacking. And SNV has been quite active in that space of enhancing capacity of young people, because knowledge is power. Some of these production technologies are quite technical. We know there is the vagaries of climate change, which is quite frequent. So how do we innovate? So as SNV, and also calling upon other players, is to enhance capacity, to enhance innovations in the production sector of the livestock, starting from the producers, who are the very foundation of the sector. So specifically coming to the youth, we are looking at how do you prepare them to grow businesses? Because we have also looked that, like I said in my opening remarks, there is something called the missing middle. There is production, there is market, there is financing everywhere, but there is something that is not happening in the middle. So how do you bridge that? So SNV has a model of business incubation for the youth, training the youth and nurturing their businesses to be bankable, to be investable through business models. So that is one thing that can be done better. By doing so, then we are standing in between the financial flows and the producers and the enterprises, and being able to connect the two disjointed areas. One other interesting thing that we need to do better around organizing the sector, we've said the sector is quite not integrated. It is not connected. What we need to do is to promote aggregation and institutional capacity development. How do you build strong local institutions that can do aggregation, that can bring pastoralists together, young people together, so that they can have a voice not only for the market, but also to work together with the innovations. Number 3 is about building a strong feed sector. In Kenya, for example, and many parts of Africa, statistics show that feed deficit is around about 60%, and that is really messing up the sector. So we need to also bring up the youth to take up these enterprises that are quite profitable, if you like, if you want to put it that way. And the feed sector is also a huge potential for growth in the overall livestock sector. Another very important thing is the climate question. How do we address this climate question? Because it looks like it's the biggest risk in the pastoral subsector. So developing programs that are climate adaptation focused and working with the youth with these innovations around early warning systems, climate adaptation investments in water and the feed sector could be real strong springboards for unlocking investments in that sector. Finally, I want to bring up the question of blended finance. The people seated here come from different sectors, the public sector, the private sector, and financing is in all these sectors. So how do we bring these financing models together? I know, for example, Equity Bank may not have the capacity to reach a farmer in the far-flung areas of Kapedo in Kenya, but SNV has a big, strong relationship with communities down there, and SNV is using public money. How do we then connect these dots? SNV is using public money, Equity Bank is using private capital. How do we position this so that we work together in a blended financial model? So we need to see more of these blended financing models supporting youth-led enterprises so that we are able to really de-risk. Because we have seen that the greatest problem in the livestock subsector, and especially the pastoral ecosystem, is the high risks, which are driven by climate change. So looking at this from that perspective has the greatest potential to bring the sector to be more profitable, more attractive to the youth, and possibly bring more of them to invest in the sector and help the sector to grow. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Rono. And so you highlight the importance of business incubation, but also really your last point that some of the constraints that the commercial sector might think of can easily be addressed through collaborations and maybe tapping into structures that several organizations working in the space have already established. But there's even an opportunity to leverage financing here in a blended way. So in a moment, I'll give an opportunity for you, audience, to ask questions. So start preparing your questions. But let me first, before that, let me first come to Traore. So Traore, you know, when George was speaking, one of the points he raised was around collateral, and also the need for historical, financial records, for example. And this is often cited as a constraint to, availing capital in pastoral areas. But we also know that in these areas, there's already a lot of kind of transactions that happen, right? Informally, a lot is going on. How can we leverage technology, for example, right? Emerging technology to really help us, utilize this data that already exists in the informal sector, but that can be crucial for the commercial banks to unlock financing. Do you see any role there that technology could could play?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, definitively. I think, especially when considering the youth, as we saw also through the different presentation yesterday, but digital finance can definitely bring solutions. And I think here one important point, there is different technology. I think there is, for example, blockchains, which can provide an important role by providing a secure, transparent record for the asset ownership, but also for the transaction. But the value is even greater when this blockchain technology are combined with digital identified technology to be able also like to such as livestock registration, mobile payment, and to be able like to incorporate also data platform, as we saw before, in terms of for the youth, because sometimes they still lack this financial know-how, how also to assess loans. And these digital tools could also help to track their record, because even if they don't have collaterals, there is a way to see through the different transactions who took place, how in terms of saying how disciplined they are, but also the importance, which was already mentioned yesterday, is to work with the whole ecosystem. So not only with the youth, but also with the aggregator, because some information which are not available at the level of a youth might be available through their input supplier or through the other aggregator, which are taking up these products. And I think one important thing is also, for example, for the bank, we are using this investment master plan, but we have a pillar on productivity and production, one on value chain, and the issue related to youth and gender is kind of a cross-cutting one, which is taking into account in all of our projects.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so let me take then a few questions from the floor. There are many, I should just a few. Dr. Dereje, then Dr. Chuma, there's one at the back, and there was one, two here. Let's start with Dr. Dereje. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I also want to appreciate all the panelists for the wisdom. I just want to throw in a context so that to also hear from any of you what we can do together. This is about financial service targeting pastoralists. Here is the context. The context is there is a lot of, substantial amount of money lost, not by off-taking on time. Because the prime market requires, for example, sheep and the goat. There is a requirement for weight, for requirement for age, sometimes sex. But the producers will gamble. If they sell, they will have cash. The cash will be spent, or there is no appropriate place where to invest. Is there anything that we can think where people can be, encouraged to sell so that they can also invest somewhere else, where liquidity also easier, because when they require money, they can withdraw and do what they want. Unless we have helped them on this area, they will only sell based on the cash requirement, because for them, they have invested already. That's their investment is on animal, but it has high risk. There is a disease, there is theft, there is also losing value. You keep, a good animal, come back in 3 months, maybe because of drought, the weight has lost, its market value has lost. All of us lose that money. So this is the area that we are all grappling. I just want to hear some of the wisdom so that all listen, because there is a huge capital with pastoralists, there is a possibility to mobilize that and support their own investment too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Dereje. Dr. Chuma, go ahead.
Thank you, panelists. My name is Dr. Chuma from Kenya. I'm the CEO of the Livestock Marketing Board, and I must appreciate the good discussions. However, I want to point out a few issues which we could continue the discussion. And really what captures my attention here is we have the livestock and we have the market. What is missing? To me, that's key. And since the first day of these discussions, we have had some good success stories. And what I feel is we need now to start moving from the talk and doing things at small scale and upscaling them. And here I have in mind the issue of structuring the subsistence livestock production system or the pastoral production system into commercially viable investment vehicles. And what comes to mind, and on this panel, I must single out SNV, Mr. Rono. I think you are capturing the moment, the issues of the moment, that the key cog to unlock now is to structure these production system to be a more commercially oriented enterprises. And key central to that is streamlining aggregation systems. And it's important, if I could share the experience of Kenya, where we have seen cooperatives succeed in many productive sectors of the economy, including the tea sector, coffee, dairy. But for some reason, conveniently, they have failed to succeed in the pastoral production systems. And I think we are at a time when we have to make this work. And for that to work, catalytic investment will be key. If you listen to our principal secretary yesterday, he emphasized and mentioned several times that we are now in the process of establishing the county livestock investment companies. And these companies will have shareholding of the cooperative organization at the grassroots. This is a critical effort to streamline the aggregation and fashioning the production systems into a commercial enterprises. SNV, I'm putting a straight appeal whether we could partner in this, because it will put this sector in the right trajectory into a commercial viable enterprise. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chuma. Yes, please. That's a new one that was there before. Had I skipped it? Maybe let's go there and then we come back to you. Yeah, at the very back.
Okay. So, thank you. My name is Joseph Jikuna, livestock officer with the FAO. Mine is comment and maybe first to thank the panelists for those insightful discussions that they have given us. And also to note that equity, if I got you right, you said you have got 30% of dedicated to livestock, which is very good. If I also got you right, as equity, you have a livestock framework. That's also a very positive thing. My comment is that, and this is for information, Kenya has a Community-Led Act 2016, which allows communities with ancestral customary land to register. And so far, it's reported over 60 community lands in almost 10 counties or even more. Turkana, Laikipia, Kajiado, and others have been registered. Now, as to whether a community-led title is a viable collateral, maybe that is something for the banks to maybe to assess. As we heard from the panelists that there are some considerations like the history and of course the risk assessments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, please go ahead.
Mine goes to George of Equity Bank.
It goes to who?
Equity Bank.
Equity. Okay.
So if I'm an off-taker and I have 1,000 women who are supplying me with goods, they are aggregating on my behalf. But they require funding. But the challenge they have is they don't have any credit history. But they have savings and credit groups that they have been saving. Could you use that to help instead of the credit history?
Historical data. Yeah. No, I think we struggled a bit to hear you. Equity confirms they did not catch the question. It will be difficult to answer it. If you just could repeat your question, please. Yeah.
Okay. I have 1,000 women who are supplying me with goods. They are my aggregators. They don't have access to funding, so I have to give them capital, and it holds my capital because they need money to be able to buy goods in the village. Could Equity Bank give them loans so they can, it can untie my working capital so they can use it to buy goods? But the challenge is they don't have any credit history, but they have savings and loans groups that have been saving. How can you help on that?
Okay, I think it's clear now. And there was one last question here before we go back to the panel. Yeah.
Thank you so much. My name is Jacob Lakaitogo. I'm the Global Coordinator for the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists, year 2026, and also the President of the Pastoralist Youth Alliance Africa. Receive greetings from the Global Alliance for Pastoralists and Rangelands. Today, actually, we are celebrating pastoralists, and actually 2026, this October, we are at Mongolia celebrating them. So they told me to greet you. Perhaps you can support them also to go there. My question goes to SNV and Mr. Taure. Two questions, because you've spoken about the youth. I have one, maybe we've seen many partners speaking about working with the youth in the landscape and empowering the youth. But just to ask you, what concrete investments are being made to enable young pastoralists to enable to become business owners, livestock aggregators, processors, exporters, and also investors, rather than just remaining beneficiaries of those projects? The other one is maybe you can just tell me if the project is over or how you're going to answer this in the next maybe 5 or so years. What are measurable commitments can your institution make to ensure pastoral youth have increased access to finance, market, digital technologies, leadership opportunities, and how will you track this report and results? And possibly maybe you can tell me or tell the platform what are the challenges you incurred when engaging the pastoral youth. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Many questions. Let's try to keep the answers brief, but because we can continue the conversations even after the panel. I don't know where you want to start. You'll take the first question, okay, to Dr. Dereje.
Yes, the question was from Dr. Chuma, was it? Yes. That's a brilliant question you asked, but I'll not be able to give you a complete solution. And I think it's something we should actually think about critically. One area we're looking at from the private sector is investments in what you're calling a warehouse receipt system, whereby livestock farmers can come and sell all their produce, all, into the warehouse receipt system. And their produce is stored in a cold room system, in a good cold room structure, and they get receipts for it. And with using those receipts, they can actually go to the bank and actually get financing. And that is one area that we need to consider and look at seriously in terms of how do we unlock that, the question you raised. Secondly, there's a lot of discussions in carbon credits. Most of the initiatives on carbon credits is going to crop farming, but very little is happening on rangelands. And if we structure this, we need to get more, maybe the academia to support us in this area and researchers to see how do we come up with a carbon credit solution focusing the rangelands and livestock farmers or pastoralists. I'll not go into the details, but it's a long structure. It's quite elaborate. Whether you're going into the voluntary market or compliance carbon market, but there's a way it can be structured. And then those proceeds now are used to pay the investments that the pastoralists have done in bringing up their livestock. The third area is diaspora remittances. There's a lot of diaspora remittances coming into Africa, and very little of it is going into the livestock sector. So if we come up with structures whereby we channel these remittances from consumption to infrastructure like feedlots, we see an opportunity in this area. And that is something we need to have further discussions. And the last point, which I think had been mentioned 2 days ago, is the livestock trading platforms. I think there's a company called Flocker, which presented the kind of platforms they are offering. For us, yes, I can see you've raised your hand. For us, we're looking at how do we go into the future as private sector. So systems like livestock trading platforms, it's something that we need to build capacity for our pastoralist community so they get to understand. I know we'll be told, somebody will tell us we don't have infrastructure. They're living in remote areas. But for us, we don't look at it that way. We're looking at what is the investment opportunity from coming from Africa into Africa and from private sector to bring in this investment. Thank you.
All right, nice. Joshua, I think you wanted to add on that very briefly. Yeah?
Yes, just to add to what he said, when it comes to the activities of off-takers and suppliers, we've done a lot in that area. And what we've done as a bank, there is that agreement you sign. And in that agreement, tripartite agreement between the bank, the off-taker, and the pastoralist who supplies. In this tripartite agreement, what we do is, okay, you are off-taking at XYZ price. And now if you are, as an off-taker, default, and of course, the pastoralists keep feeding or keep maybe losing money, and the animal will be losing value, like he said, what we do is, once it gets to certain price threshold, the bank will foreclose on this with the pastoralist, and we can now open it for other buyers so that we can sell it at that price threshold, because the bank is looking at her own money coming back. So we won't allow it to deteriorate to the point that you won't be able to realize your money. And then, of course, you can't even make a margin, even when to talk less of paying the bank. So certain price, we monitor the market. Once the price gets to this certain level, we don't have any recourse to you as either the off-taker or the supplier. The bank will take over and we look for buyer to buy so that we can offset what is the bank's exposure to you, and perhaps principal and interest. So that has helped us in doing that. In digitization, warehousing receipt, we have something we call SABEX in Nigeria. We started already in Sterling Bank, where farmers now, not livestock farmers, but farmers generally, we fund them for commodity. You bring it to a designated warehouse, we give you a warehouse receipt, you go to the bank and the bank can discount it for you at 70%. Then once you've done, you go on for other businesses. If you like, you can come back to say the bank, this is your money, give me my commodity, or you can say bank, sell it and give me the difference. That's net out your loan and then give me what is the outstanding, the balance for me. So we've already started that. Thank you.
Okay, great. Rono, SNV, I think 2 questions for you from Dr. Chuma, but also from this end. Yeah.
Yes, 2 questions. One is about the cooperatives. I think this is going to work at some point. The only challenge with cooperatives and livestock at the moment, especially pastoralism, is the fragmented nature of the businesses. and possibly the movement. There is still a lot of movement when it comes to, of course, livestock, pastoral livestock. But with the capacity development, so that's one. Number two is that there's still a lot of social connotation around the business. So it's not fully moved to business. But that is why there are actors like all of us seated here and also you doing something, contributing to formalizing that sector. Number two is about, there is an organization, in Kenya specifically, there is Kenya Livestock Marketing Council, which is also working on creating structures for bringing the pastoral farmers, the livestock farmers together through the livestock marketing associations, which have a high capacity to transition into vibrant cooperatives, which can then be linked to financial institutions. So there is something happening in that space. It's slow, but definitely we will arrive there. Number two is about the youth and the investments. Specific to Kenya, SNV, FAO, and other organizations, we are implementing a pastoralist project in 15 arid and semi-arid counties. And one of our methods, we are working to reach 300,000 only, of course, which is a small number compared to the big area. But two things we are doing. One is capacity building, especially in entrepreneurship and business incubation. That is one of the things that we are doing. Two, in terms of solid investment, because I know my friend was asking, is there any like real money going to the youth? Yes, we have. Within that program, we have a challenge fund, an innovation fund, where those who graduate from our entrepreneurship classes can apply for that money to invest in the sector. Finally, it's about the commitment. Of course, the commitment that we make as a development organization is to ensure that those 300,000 lives that we touch really become thriving, they increase incomes and improve livelihoods. That is the space that an NGO like SNV operates, and our commitment is to see that those we reach really have thriving lives. And in this particular program and in many other programs that we do, we work towards ensuring that those entrepreneurs really have a sustainable income source. Thank you.
Right. I don't know, Traore, did you want to just add maybe a minute or so?
Yeah, I can add, since this question was also directed, without going in details, but I think the principle for the youth, there is also no concrete action. It's important to remember that the bank is prescriptive, is not prescriptive in the activity to take, but we still guide the country. But the general principle is that we try to make sure that in the frame of the project that there is really, the credit line are often concessional, but for the youth, but even they have better term. And that this is always linked also, as my colleagues were saying, with capacity building or like even mentorship with some other aggregator in the value chain. And you were saying how to track this record. I think these are regarding our project is included into the indicators. And or there is also kind of other finance instrument which the bank use for some of the project, which we call result-based finance, which means the disbursements are only linked to measurable outcomes. So this also really push to have quick results.
Great. And finally, George, there's a question from FAO. If you could just maybe briefly respond to that, and then of course the conversations can continue after. Yep.
So thank you very much. Before I go to that one, I want to ride on what Dr. Chumwa mentioned about. And I want us to challenge ourselves unconventionally. If we ride on the drive model, whereby the pastoralists could save and eventually have a bonus, can we have a similar approach to off-takers, for example, so that when you are paying farmers, you can pay the farmers 90% of the proceeds, and we can have 10% going through the banks. Eventually, we may put the bankability issue behind us, and we want to ride on, the trust that you already have with the pastoralist. So that one answers on what actually is lacking. And as banks, I know we shall ride on the data once we get to the framework. But those are my thoughts in terms of what do we need, say, to do moving forward with the, humongous data repository that we have, and how can banks chip in into that. So on the issue of land title deeds, communally owned land, I think that would still suffice. On the group lending model, where you have about 1,000 women that you would want us to support, the bank has a group lending pillar, whereby we organize youth and women, and they are trained, and they are trained on savings, on borrowings. We want to understand what they do better. We want to, give them a solution again that aligns with what they do. They may have diverse sources of income, livestock, being the core business. So we want to understand all that. But what is important to note is that we have a product that we call Pamoja Banking within the equity footprint. So this is something that we can pick up. I want to believe there are already registered groups, with the social welfare or cooperatives. The bank will will offer trainings, and in this case, it is sending the trainers to where the women are or where the client is, so that they can have about a 4 weeks training. The culture of saving being inculcated gradually. Until then, we can start borrowing a couple of times your savings, 3 times, 5 times. Eventually, we are riding on, these groups, firstly because they may not have adequate securities or collateral. So this is something that we would want to pick up with you. We have a clear calendar with the timelines on how our branches will support in trainings and eventually when it comes to lending. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Lots of discussions, lots of interesting ideas, lots of invitations for partnerships. Unfortunately, that's the amount of time we had for this panel. But what I want to encourage all of us is that, as you can see, there's a lot to be discussed. It's not enough to finish that within, just a few minutes that we had. But please take opportunity. The panel is here. Engage with us. Let those conversations continue. Let's identify practical pathways to financing. So I want to invite you to thank the panel for the excellent discussions. And also I really would like to thank you for your active participation, very nice questions, and interesting discussions. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so I'm told we need to take a photo before jumping out of the stage. There's a...
Okay, thank you very much for that panel. We now want to break for tea. Yeah. Yeah, we are breaking now for tea. If we can take 20 minutes for tea so that we can come back and continue with the program. So let's break for tea. After tea, you'll be in the hands of my colleague, Said Ali, who will move the process forward. So let's have tea for the next 20 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We would like to request our participants who are outside to please rejoin and take their seats. If you're outside and you can hear us, please come back and take your seats. We will be starting in the next 2 minutes. So please, if you're outside, kindly rejoin and retake your seat. Just one more minute. We are just waiting for the director and His Excellency the Minister to join us. Good morning once again. It is our last day, and we'll be having some busy, let's say, 2-3 hours before lunchtime. And we have a small change of our program, and for now, I would like to invite yes, is it ready? So we all understand how projects and program work, and M&D framework and sustainability are very important. And I would like to invite my colleague from AU IBAR, Dr. Tom. Frederick, please come forward.
Good morning. Presentation, please. I'm told that I have 10 minutes. I had a 30-minute presentation. Let's see how we can squeeze it. Presentation, please. Yeah, thank you so much. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, thank you. Yeah, the meeting has succeeded in transforming or changing our thinking of pastoralism from a subsistence to an engine for continental growth. Having done that, we find that we must sustain a few things. We must sustain the momentum for that and also consolidate the gains. As we do that, a number of questions come to our minds. And I'm sure you also have a number of questions that are coming to your minds on that front. 4 of those questions that have come to our minds are: 1, how do we consolidate the commitments that have been made in the last 5 days into implemental frameworks and establish coordination mechanisms as well as align to stakeholders to ACFTA livestock priorities. That's one of the questions that is coming to our minds. Then the second question that has come to our minds is how do we scale the identified business models? You'll witness with me that actually we have identified so many business models. So we're asking ourselves, how do we scale those and even mobilize finance and support those models? Then the third one, how do we advance policy harmonization, invests on critical infrastructures? You will recall that in the meeting, everybody was talking about infrastructure, whether cold chain, whether holding grounds, all those. How do we invest in that and track the corridor performance with scorecards? And the last one is how do we link enterprises to the corridors that have been identified through partnership, trade facilitation, and all that. Now, those questions bring us to start wondering whether we need to come up with a platform or a forum that will coordinate all these four questions and the many others that we have not captured, which are in your minds. So with that, we feel that there is need to come up with a forum that will coordinate this going forward. So as we think through this, we think that for the next 6 months to 1 month to 1 year, we should actually have an establishment of a private sector secretariat which will coordinate the forum. Then we'll also need to develop a scorecard to track commitments. And then the third one, we need to mobilize resources for the infrastructures that we've been talking about. And also we have several financing needs that needs to be plugged in. And then also the same secretariat should help us prepare for the next forum, which is coming in 2027. So in the long term, we see this forum as a premier continental marketplace for pastoralism in Africa. So we also see integration of the same into the FCTA livestock trade corridors. And also we see a very strong private sector investment driving it. And then we come from a school that says that what gets measured gets done. So we need to institutionalize monitoring and evaluation so that we are able to measure, to put what we need to do and also measure it. So basically, those are some of the things that we are thinking about this forum. And we think that this forum could do so many things. It would be able to transit AU IBA from a convener to a facilitator of this forum. So the forum becomes ours. Then it should be able to have a few pillars where the private sector anchoring is key. Who will drive this? We'll also see how we will raise our own funds to drive this. Then with that, we'll be able to see how we can work through the FCTA corridors. And at the same time, how do we get evidence for decision making? Then the same secretariat will think about the governance structures that this forum will need. we are not saying this is what they will need, but we are thinking aloud. And we are saying that they may need to form a steering committee. You know, they are interim. Whatever they do, they'll have to come back to us, all of us, to endorse. So thinking about that, then they would also think about forming the technical working groups. They would also form an investor council, which will bring together the banks we have in this house, plus the FDIs. Then somebody was talking about they did not see the pastoralists in this. So they'll strongly bring them through the Pastoralist Advisory Board. And as we said, we have to come up with an M&E unit that will be measuring our impact and advise us on the way forward. And then we expect them to have a legal entity. We expect them to have audited reports, and we expect them to. We expect us to be hosting for ownership. We may not be in Addis next year. We need to be going around. So with that, we'll be having a forum that's owned by us, pastoral sector, and AU IBA will evolve from convener to facilitator, working with us. We're not saying that we are getting out of this. We'll be working with you, but it will be led by you. So what is our ask? We're asking for three things. We are requesting this forum to endorse the establishment of the African Pastoral Markets Forum as the premier continental marketplace for pastoralism in Africa. The second ask that we're asking is that you authorize AU IBA to facilitate the formation of an interim inclusive committee to serve as secretariat for the next forum that will happen next year. And the third one is to mandate the secretariat that will be formed to initiate the establishment and operation of the structures. I told you I had 30 minutes. I'm told it's 10 minutes. So I'm asking Said to help me finish with this, because if I start, he will start quarreling me that I've done more than 10. Thank you.
Our media team, please bring back the last slide. Thank you so much, Dr. Osebe. This is very innovative, private sector led, and we would like to congratulate AU IBAR for being very innovative. And the APMF now being proposed to be a private sector led. And to move forward and to make this operational, we would like to seek the audience the endorsement of these three requests we are making. And mainly private sector, I think, is dominating the House. And by way of showing your hands up, I would like to request you, if you endorse the very first one, which is the establishment of the APMF as the premier marketplace for pastoralism. Please raise your hand if you endorse this. Well, this is endorsed, right? Thank you. Thank you. And I think our rapporteur and the team can take that up. The second endorsement we would like to request.
I want to say something on
okay, please.
Bullet 1. This forum should, for purposes of the benefit of the private sector, include a B2B and a B2C. Just I endorse it, but just a value addition.
Okay, that is also a good proposal, and we are taking note of that. Thank you. So the second request that we have is to authorize AU IBAR to facilitate the formation of an interim inclusive committee to serve as the secretariat for next year's APMF. Endorsement? Again, full house endorsement. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone with a comment or any reservation on this so that we can also have a different view? No. So that is 100% full endorsement. Thank you. And the last one is to mandate the Secretariat of APMF to initiate the establishment and operationalization of the APMF structure. Do we endorse this? Thank you. More than 60% of the House. So I believe the 3 points have all been endorsed, and we will adopt it as it is. And let's please... Thank you so much. We have always talked about private sector-led, inclusive economic growth, private sector-led initiative, investment and all that. And I'm glad that these initiatives right now have been adopted. We are now getting to one very important discussion. The last 3 days, we have discussed how important the livestock sector is to our African economy. We have also highlighted and emphasized the importance of the private sector investment into this sector. We have organized a deal room yesterday and the day before yesterday. We had presenters from different countries, from Nigeria, Sudan, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Kenya, some very young entrepreneurs who had very innovative ideas, others who have been in the business for quite so long and I want to expand their businesses, were given an opportunity to present their business cases. They presented their business cases to potential investors from an equity perspective. They presented to banks from a credit perspective. They presented to the development partners requesting grants. So it was really a busy kind of session for those who have been in that session. So in a bid to expand opportunities for the livestock sector, we are pleased to announce that our private sector participant in this forum have requested $55 million investment to their businesses to promote the livestock sector across Africa. We are equally pleased to announce that our development partners have also mentioned that they have ongoing projects or programs across Africa supporting and strengthening the livestock sector. We'd like to appreciate all our development partners, including World Bank, IFC, AFDB, Mexico, and other international organizations that were present for their ongoing support to the sector. We'd also like to announce that our private banking sector, particularly those present in the House, whom I would like to mention, starting from Sterling Bank in Nigeria, Equity Bank in Kenya, and ABSA, which is also Pan-African, KCB, Premier Bank, and all of them have also responded positively to the business proposal that have been made by our private sector partners. Important to mention that Equity Bank particularly highlighted that recently, just a month ago, they have initiated 30 million euros, equivalent to about $34.2 million of direct investment to the livestock sector. Let's please applaud for our private sector, banking sector. So in view of this, we would like to appreciate and recognize all of them. We would like to, first of all, to invite all our private partners who presented their business cases. I'll be mentioning your name, and please come forward. So ABF Company, I think, was the first presenter. Please come forward. Genco, also from Kenya, please come forward. We'll be taking a photo here. Oris Company from Tanzania. Al Nahil from Sudan. You may come to the podium here. Then we have Abis Group from Nigeria. Then we have Livemo Investment from Kenya. Then we have Luna from Ethiopia. Then we have Sole Trading Company from Kenya. If I have left out your name and you are one of the presenters, that will be an oversight from my side. Please come forward. Good. I would like to invite Floka. Maria, if you're in the house, please come forward. You're already here. Good. Then we have Nourishing Nomad, Dr. Hassan Bashir, please come forward. Then we have Camp David. Martin, if you're here, please also come forward. Good. Now, please stay here. We would like to invite our development partners, World Bank, please come forward. IFC, Evans, if you're here, please come forward. Then Dr. Traore from AFDB. Okay. Let me push this. You can step right in front, some. Okay. Yes, behind, okay. Sorry, the podium is not, we had the seats still here. Then now it's time for, then I would like to invite our development partners as well, Masiko. John from GET Foundation, or the GET Foundation team, please also come forward. Then some of you can, yes. Where's our photographer? You can, Eric, please help here. Dr. Opio from ICC, please come forward. Yes, our development Gatsby, any of, they will come, the banking sector, yes. So any other development partner that I might have left out, please come forward. Now it's time for us to invite our banking sector, our banking sector partners. Please allow me to invite ABSA. Susan, please come forward. George from Equity Bank Group. Jamal from KCB. Dr. Joshua from Sterling Bank. Maulud from Premier Bank. Nirsal Nigeria. Mr. Nasiru, please also come forward. Let's please give them one very strong applause for them. Before I invite the director and His Excellency the Minister, to inform you, these are the team that has been working the last 3 days to be able to identify opportunities in the livestock sector in Africa, to be able to present workable, fundable business proposals. And as we earlier mentioned, the $55 million that has been requested, the $35 million that Equity has and other development partners have, these are the teams that have really made it possible. And let's please give them one more round. Yes. So I would also like to invite the Strathmore team, the KPMD team that has worked to make this possible, particularly in the Kenyan context. Please come forward. Dr. Geoffrey Otieno and Professor Rose. So our cameraman, please do help us arrange the team. Eric, we want a cameraman for one full photo. Yes, ready. Now, please allow me to invite our director. Please join us for the photo session. I would now like also to invite His Excellency the Minister from Nigeria. Please join us for the photo session. Yes, please all. Good. Let's please clap for them as they return to their seats. So please, slowly, one by one, you can. Yes? Yes, you have taken the photo? Yeah, it's okay. Please take back your seats. Yes. Good. Now we are approaching our closing session, and I know it's nearly lunchtime. I would like now to invite our director, Dr. Huyam Salih, to come and make her closing remarks. And oh, okay. I'm being guided. Good. Thank you so much, Dr. John, for the guidance. Now it's time for me to invite Dr. Tom Osebe from Gates Foundation to make his remarks. Dr. Tom, please come forward.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Thank you. I stand on the protocols that have already been established. Your Excellency, the Minister, Dr. Huyam, the Director, AU IBA, all protocols observed. I have a short statement that I will quickly read through. Before I turn to substance, a word of thanks to AU IBA for the vision, the political capital to convene this forum and carry it to a ministerial communique, to the government of Ethiopia for hosting us so generously, to Trademark Africa and our co-convening partners, and to every panelist, presenter, and enterprise that pitched, presented, and pushed this conversation forward this week, and to all of you for showing up ready to work rather than to simply talk. Big thanks. We live with something rare, a communique adopted yesterday by our ministers themselves that speaks about pastoral livestock, not as a humanitarian concern, but as an economic opportunity. The shift in language matters, and it was the ministers in this room who drove it there. But success will not be measured by that communique. It will be measured by implementation. This week, enterprises pitched real investment cases to financiers in this room. Roundtable structured co-investment and blended finance. Ministers made commitments. That, ladies and gentlemen, is progress. But a communique that isn't implemented is just a well-written document. So the tests for all of us starts now. Let me name one constraint that sits underneath many others that we discussed. Transboundary animal disease and foot and mouth disease most acutely. FMD is not just an animal health issue. It is often the reason private capital hesitates to enter this sector, because losing FMD-free status can close a market overnight. We've seen that play out across Southern Africa this year alone. PPR, Rift Valley fever, and lumpy skin disease carry real costs too, particularly for the small ruminants at the heart of pastoral livelihoods. None of this is a footnote to our investment conversation this week. It's the constraint underneath most of the constraints we discussed, and part of the fix is structural. Disease control has historically been treated as a government-only function, which has kept private capital and private capacity, including accredited testing labs, vaccine manufacturing, surveillance technology, locked out of a space where it could genuinely help. Opening that door alongside a strong state veterinary authority is one of the most concrete things this sector could do in the next year. Now consider the opportunity this unlocks if we get it right. Africa currently imports over $10 billion worth of livestock products annually, while exporting less than $4 billion. Every dollar of that import bill is a processing job, a logistics job, a veterinary job that we have exported along with it. And the opportunity isn't only abroad. Our own continent's growing cities are one of the largest untapped markets this African livestock produces. If we can move for these African livestock producers, if we move products across our own borders as easily as we move them across someone else's. Beyond our continent, the market is bigger than the one we've relied on to. The Gulf remains vital. For example, Saudi Arabia alone imports around 5 million live animals a year, worth roughly $1.5 billion. But that market is concentrated geographically in GCC and structurally around live exports from the Horn of Africa. That concentration risk is not a good strategy. China is now offering an alternative to real-scale, zero-tariff access for African exports to effect this year, and China-Africa trade has already passed $348 billion. But zero tariffs do not mean zero barriers. China's sanitary and phytosanitary requirements are strict, and disease control, FMD being chief among them, sits at the center of them. Without systems, investors trust, and the traceability to prove it, zero tariffs are an open door we cannot yet walk through. This is exactly where catalytic capital belongs, de-risking disease control, traceability systems, so private investment can follow into premium markets, intra-Africa and international alike. It's also exactly why AU IBA's political weight behind this sector, visible in yesterday's communique, matters so much. So here is my ask, and it's the same one I'd make of myself. Return to your capitals, your institutions, your portfolios, and ask what you are actually implementing in the next 12 months, not what you are prepared to say. The forum has named the opportunity. Turning yesterday's communique into tomorrow's trade flows is now our job. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
One more round of applause for Dr. Sebe. Now we are going to the closing part of our first APMF. And I would like to invite Dr. Huyam Saleh, Director of AU IBAR, to make her closing remarks. Let's please give her a welcoming.
Good afternoon, everyone. Your Excellency, Minister of Livestock, Republic of Nigeria, representative of member states and regional economic communities, Dr. Thomas Seppi, representative of Gates Foundation, development partners, banks, DFIs, investors, private sectors, pastoral representatives, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. As we close the first African Pastoral Market Forum, we do so with a stronger continental mandate for Africa's pastoral livestock economy. This forum has positioned pastoral livestock as a strategic economic asset for food security, job, trade, resilience, value addition, and regional integration. Over the past days, we have brought evidence, enterprises, policy leadership, and finance into one conversation. We have linked pastoral livestock enterprises with banks, DFIs, investors, and development partners. We have examined business models that connect pastoral producers to aggregations, offtake, services, processing, and higher value markets. We have also elevated the policy and investment issues that determine whether these models can be scaled. The ministerial segment has given this agenda the political weight it requires. Ministers have helped raise the profile of pastoral livestock markets and have signaled commitment around three priorities. First, enabling policies and lower the costs of formal trade and support private sector participation. Second, financing pathways that can unlock investments in the pastoral livestock economy. And third, regional public good investments that strengthen corridors, animal health systems, water, logistics, energy, standards, and market assurance. AU IBAR, through the African Pastoral Market Development and with the support of the Gates Foundation, the member states, the regional economic communities and partners will take these outcomes forward. We will work to strengthen the investment case, support scalable business models, deepen engagement with financiers, and coordinate follow-up around the evidence and policy, finance, and market priorities emerging from this forum. I sincerely thank the government of the Federal Democratic of Ethiopia for hosting us, the Gates Foundation for supporting this forum and the whole project, and all partners, enterprises, financiers, technical institutions, pastoral representatives, and colleagues who contributed to this important first forum. I also want to recognize the AU IBAR team, my colleagues, and the facilitators who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make this forum a reality. Your dedication, long hours, professionalism, and commitment to the institution have carried this process from planning to delivery, and I am deeply grateful for the efforts each of you has invested. Looking ahead to the second African Pastoral Markets Forum, will be convened from 19 to 22nd July 2027. We intend for the next forum to move even closer to the marketplace. It will deliberately bring together actors across integrated regional livestock value chains, energy providers, logistics companies, input suppliers, animal health services providers, feed and fodder enterprises, processors, financial institutions, technology providers, traders, off-takers, and pastoral producer organizations. The objective will be to deepen the market conversation structure, partnership, and accelerate investment around practical value chain opportunities. And I think this is very doable because what has been shared now with the Secretariat to be formulated to ensure the sustainability of this forum beyond AU IBAR, to have a forum led and owned by the private sector and the pastoral community, that will ensure the Secretariat will be going very deep to the marketplace. AU IBAR remains committed to support the pastoral markets and livestock value chains under the different flagship programs we have in office. Starting from the ongoing PPR eradication under the Pan-African program, dealing with all the member states sub-Saharan Africa, I think will be through the eradication of PPR supporting the control of other small ruminant diseases. But we are not stopping here in supporting the animal health issues. We are planning for a flagship to support the veterinary services, not only for the public sector, but also how we are building this in partnership with the private sector to ensure the same sustainability and resilience to ensure animal health and One Health capacities in the continent. We have other flagship program for 10 years, which is the Integrated Regional Livestock Value Chain. And I think it's been inspired by this APMD market development program. Through the Integrated Regional Livestock Value Chains, we are aiming to support trade corridors by supporting the production, by making the private sector is a key actor and the coordination to be done by the regional economic communities. And this something cannot be done alone by AU IBAR or any other single organization. We want to tap on all the opportunities by other organizations, projects, governments, and different actors. And we have assigned ourselves the role of coordinating and orchestrating the whole issue, while the partners will be doing according to their roles and mandates. If we manage to bring this in one place, this will be the result of this APMD forum, to make sure that the private sector is sustaining the livestock beyond the single intervention by each organization. So I invite member states, regional economic communities, development partners, banks, DFIs, investors, enterprises, research institutions, and pastoral organizations to partner with AU IBAR in shaping the next phase. Let us leave Addis Ababa with resolve to organize the pastoral livestock economy better, finance it better, trade it better, and ensure that pastoral women, men, and youth capture greater value from the market they sustain. Distinguished delegates, colleagues, and friends, and Honorable Minister, I thank you once again for your presence, your contribution, and your commitment to the Africa's pastoral livestock economy. May this conversation we have started here continue through practical partnership. We have been discussing with different partners in this room, and hopefully we will be following up on all the discussions to create stronger partnerships towards our shared goals. We are looking for stronger investments and better policies and coordinated follow-up. I wish you all safe travel back to your countries and institutions, and may you return with renewed commitment to carry this agenda forward. With this, I thank you, and we are bringing together this first African Pastoral Market Forum to a close. Thank you so much. Now it's my great honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency, Honorable Aidi Mukhtar, the Minister of Livestock for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to give the official closing remark from His Excellency.
Distinguished guests, honored delegates, participants, ladies and gentlemen, as we draw the curtains on this historic AU IBAR First African Pastoral Market Forum, I stand before you with a profound sense of optimism and purpose. Over the course of our deliberations, we have engaged in robust discussions, shared invaluable insights, and charted a visionary path forward for one of Africa's most vital yet historically overlooked sectors. First and foremost, I wish to extend our deepest gratitude to the Gates Foundation and all other benefactors for their unwavering support and partnership. Your commitment to empowering African agriculture and pastoralism is deeply appreciated. I also want to commend the AU IBAR Secretariat for their tireless efforts in organizing this landmark event, bringing together diverse voices to tackle shared challenges. To all the participants, policymakers, experts, pastoralists, panelists, representatives, private sector leaders, development partners, and other facilitators, thank you very much for your active engagement, your wisdom, and your dedication to transforming our continent. Mainstreaming pastoralism for a modern Africa. For too long, pastoralism has been viewed through the lens of marginal traditional livelihood, operating on the fringes of our formal economies. It is urgently necessary that we change this narrative. We must mainstream pastoralism, transforming it from a marginal economy into a modern, dynamic, and commercially viable engine of growth. By modernizing this sector, we can unlock optimal productivity, create millions of sustainable jobs for our youth, and guarantee food and nutrition security for our dear continent. Pastoralism is not a relic of the past. It is the cornerstone of our future. It is the future of our prosperity. Furthermore, we must recognize the critical need to promote and facilitate trade within our own continent. Under the African Continental Free Trade Area mechanism, we have an unprecedented opportunity to break down barriers and create a seamless integrated market for pastoral products. With a human population of nearly 1.5 billion and a livestock population of approximately 1.2 billion, talking of ruminants, the domestic demand within Africa is staggering. This forum must champion the drive to satisfy this demand from within, ensuring that the wealth generated by African livestock remains in Africa, driving a collective economic asset. To truly unlock the massive potential of the pastoral sector, we must rethink our financial architecture. I call upon Africa's financial institutions to step up and provide patient capital. The unique dynamics of livestock production and pastoral value chains require financial products tailored to their realities. We need loans with single-digit interest rates, extended moratoriums, and value chain-specific financial services. Without accessible, affordable, and understanding capital, the transformation we envision will remain a distant dream. Our financial institutions must become true partners in this agricultural revolution. To truly unlock the massive potential of the pastoral sector, we must rethink our financial architecture. Finally, we must remember that the success of this forum will not be measured by the eloquence of speeches, but by the vigor of our actions. The political commitments made here over these past few days are real, and they are binding. I urge all member states to endeavor to abide by these commitments and implement the agreed upon frameworks with urgency and fidelity. We owe it to our pastoralist communities, and we owe it to the future generations of Africa to translate our shared vision into tangible realities on the ground. Let us leave this forum not just as participants, but as champions of a new narrative for African pastoralism. Together, we can build a modern, integrated, and prosperous Africa. Thank you, and I wish you all safe travels back to your respective destinations. God bless Africa. Thank you very much.
Just two announcements to make, and we are now free to leave. Those who have not yet signed the attendance list, please do so before leaving. Those staying at a Lily Hotel, please clear your bills, as most of us probably will be traveling early morning tomorrow. Thank you and goodbye.